Marvel's Ultimate Spider-Man has one glaring issue in that it only comes out once a month. Hickman isn't doing his usual pacing with Spider-Man, and while I like the story and it does harken back to the original Spider-Man comics, I just wish we got more, especially because of how short issue 3 was. But before I jump into the story, I'm going to give a quick recap on the Ultimate Universe so far. So in alternate universe, Reed Richards, known as the Maker, prevented the creation of all the superheroes to include Spider-Man, and set up a secret council to rule the world. 2 months ago, Peter Parker, now 35 years old, received from Tony Stark the spider that was meant to have bitten him when he was 15. With his new spider powers and a Pico stealth suit, Peter has been Spider-Man ever since. Now in the last issue, one of the big things to happen is that his daughter May learned his secret identity. And unlike the mainstream Peter Parker, this didn't seem to be as big a deal to the ultimate Peter Parker, and he told May that he would tell Mary Jane and Richard at some point later on. However, in issue 3, we see that Peter and May are kind of bonding over the secret that they're keeping and that they still haven't told Mary Jane and Richard. I hope that he does tell Mary Jane soon because I enjoyed the way that Jonathan Hickman wrote the relationship between Reed and Sue during his run on Fantastic Four, and I feel like he could do something similar with Peter and Mary Jane once she finds out that he is Spider-Man. But Peter goes through the typical superhero montage trying to pick his new outfit, and he does it with Mayday helping him out, which is really nice to see. I feel like Zeb Wells could really take a page out of Jonathan Hickman's Spider-Man for the mainstream universe Amazing Spider-Man series. But you see him cycle through the black suit, a version of the Scarlet Spider suit. I'm not sure what the third suit is based on unless it's supposed to be the Spider-Man 2099 or some variation of it, but the last one is Spider-Man's Fantastic Four uniform. Eventually they settle on the classic red and blue, and Peter even takes May web-slinging, which seems really dangerous, not just because she's a kid and he's new to being Spider-Man, but because we know that this isn't a very hero-friendly world, at least in the sense that there aren't many heroes or superpowered beings running around out there. So I figure if the police or somebody else caught wind of Spider-Man and his daughter swinging around, that would end up becoming a huge problem for Peter and his family. We also get an update into the fledgling business of Jonah and Ben, who left the Daily Bugle after its new owner Wilson Fisk started cracking down on stories related to business corruption, especially relating to Fisk Industries. So they had decided to start their own newspaper and bought a dilapidated warehouse that they're using as their new workspace. The two of them let Peter in on the fact that they're still investigating the connections between the Kingpin and the Green Goblin, as they have a map that shows that every location that Green Goblin has hit is in some way connected to the Kingpin. Although they funnily ignore the importance of Spider-Man, and Peter almost lets slip his secret identity as he's trying to talk Spider-Man up because I guess he feels a little jealous, which is kind of the polar opposite of the mainstream universe where from almost day one, Peter was hated in the media, especially by J. Jonah Jameson. Though in this universe, Jameson seems to be more correctly focused on the villains rather than a hero like Spider-Man. After learning about this connection between Goblin and the Kingpin, Peter decides to stake out Fisk's various businesses for days, waiting to find the Goblin. And eventually, he does stumble upon Green Goblin fighting Bullseye. So this is the new Ultimate Universe version of Bullseye. It is that one-eyed guy that was walking around with Wilson Fisk. And as I believe they mentioned in issue 2, Bullseye isn't working for Fisk, he's working for the Secret Council, the group that he calls the real masters of the world, the real power. And in fact, what he's doing by fighting Green Goblin is trying to take Goblin away from hunting down Fisk. Not for Fisk, but because his job is basically as an enforcer of the Secret Council to put people in their place. Though it's unclear if he knows that Green Goblin is Harry Osborn, or if he just sees him as an enemy that's getting in the way of Fisk running a smooth operation on behalf of the Council. But during this three-way fight, both the Green Goblin and Spider-Man show their lack of experience in fighting Bullseye, and it takes the two of them combined, along with the element of surprise, in order to take Bullseye down. Now, in this universe, Green Goblin isn't a villain yet. In fact, he reveals his identity to Peter, but only after forcefully revealing Peter's identity to himself, as it turns out that his Goblin suit is actually connected to Spider-Man's Pico stealth suit. So tell me what you guys think about this theory, but that either means that the Green Goblin or Harry Osborn either has access to Stark tech, like perhaps Oscorp absorbed or bought out Stark tech after Tony Stark was thought to have died as a terrorist, or Tony Stark was actually using Oscorp tech. Because it's obvious to see that Harry Osborn's Goblin suit is very similar to the Iron Man suit in various ways. So there's obviously a connection there beyond the fact that he was able to connect to Spider-Man's suit. Now, I don't think anyone was surprised that Harry Osborn turned out to be the Green Goblin. However, it was a big twist that Harry and Peter come face to face as they are and not just as the Goblin and Spider-Man. And it seems like they're moving forward as friends, possibly comrades, who will join together to take down organized crime in New York City, which is a huge departure from the character's history in the mainstream universe, whether it be the relationship between Peter and Norman Osborn or even Peter and Harry Osborn. So Hickman is definitely taking this into a new and interesting direction, but my theory is that at some point Harry will become a villain, likely due to the fact that he and Peter will disagree on how to take down villains and what they do with them afterwards. As this Harry Osborn seems more ruthless than his mainstream counterpart, so I don't think it's unlikely that his plan is simply to kill his way to the top. Whereas Peter, who's obviously a hero and a very new and inexperienced hero at that, is probably wanting to turn these guys into the authorities, even though the Goblin tells him straight up that Fisk owns the cops. And obviously Fisk owns the Daily Bugle, so he owns law enforcement and the media, at least in New York City. So that'll be an interesting development, though I wonder how much this is going to jump from issue 3 to issue 4, given how far we've jumped from issues 1 and 2. And that's the problem with this being a monthly issue, is that by issue 4, they could have already skipped by the initial conversations between Peter and Harry and gone full on into a partnership between the two. And perhaps MJ already knows that Peter's Spider-Man at that point. I just think that we're going to miss out on a lot of little things that would add to the story. But otherwise, this is the best title of the 3 for the new Ultimate Universe, in my opinion. And I'm excited for issue 4. So let me know what you guys thought about issue 3 in the comment section below, as well as your theories for how this series is going to progress going forward. If you enjoyed this video, I would appreciate it if you would hit that like and subscribe button, as well as the notification bell so that you never miss out on a new video. Thanks for watching.